Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shubham Thakur's live presenting India's first Continental panel discussion on startup during COVID-19. Startups have emerged as a key driver of economic growth and job creation and are often a catalyst for radical innovation. During the COVID-19 crisis, startups have continued to play a critical role in economies. Some innovative young firms have reacted fast and flexibly to the pandemic and have been critical in helping many countries shift towards fully digital work, education, and health services, and have provided innovation in medical goods and services. The crisis is reducing the creation of startups, challenging their survival and limiting their growth. Policymakers should tackle short-term challenges, but also, and importantly, foster the ability of a startup to grasp new business opportunities, reducing barrier to entrepreneurship, providing the right incentive, and boosting entrepreneurial potential. So in this panel discussion, we are having participation of people from the various continents to share knowledge and analyze the situation of a startup ecosystem during the pandemic. And this discussion is also an effort to spread knowledge for survival and growth about the startups among the people. So here first, I'm welcoming Mr. Shikil Sharma, who is the founder of Asset Security from India, Asia. Welcome, Mr. Shikil.
Hey, Shubham. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you. And now I'm welcoming Mr. Carsten Lexa, LLM, co-founder of Startup Initiative, Gruden and Wurzburg, author and speaker from Germany, Europe. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And now I'm welcoming Ms. Sydney Wong, founder of VentureX from Canada, North America.
Thank you for having me.
And another speaker, Ms. Siyabonga Tivana from South Africa, but he is not able to join us right now. Maybe he has some technical issues. So let's proceed further towards the session. So I would request Mr. Shikil Sharma to discuss about the digital transformation and the innovation in COVID-19. Yes.
Sure. So I think during the digital transformation that happened during the COVID situation, I was primarily based in India during this period. So I've seen massive steps taken by a lot of startups as well as businesses that had nothing to do with technology coming online. So the businesses, those were startups, tech companies. It was quite amazing to see them, transform overnight into changing their business models and becoming ready for the new world where they did not have that physical presence. So one huge example here was this essentially a fitness company called CultFit. Now the entire business model was around having fitness centers which were offline, and they specialized in CrossFit training to move away from traditional gyms. Now these guys, within a couple of months since pandemic happened, changed their entire business model into completely online, where the trainers were training people doing CrossFit exercises, dance exercises, everything online. So that was an amazing thing to see, because when a situation like this happens, one often thinks that this company is gonna tank. What's gonna happen to the subscription? I myself was paying for a gym membership of some other gym, and I had paid a month ago before the pandemic happened, and now I can't do anything about the gym membership. But had I been a subscriber to this tech savvy company, I would have used the gym membership, thanks to their business model going online and trainers doing completely online training. So still, this is something which is very expected from tech savvy, well funded startups. But most interesting, the things have come from businesses which were mom and pop store owners, small shops, roadside shops. They were the baddest hit, right? They were not tech savvy. These were run by people who came from a generation where they had for the longest time run away from using a smartphone, and until it became inevitable, they started using smartphones. So now these people have started to come online, started to accept the fact that this is the new reality. And in this entire transformation, the businesses who had a great edge, a great business model and great product have gotten global exposure, gotten like countrywide exposure here in India. So that has been a great thing that has come out of the pandemic. And even in India, since WhatsApp user base is such huge, just like it's the case for WeChat in China, right? So what we've seen is that a new company come up called Khata Books, who are making an e-commerce store on top of WhatsApp, like that utilizes WhatsApp, like an app which lets people send across your inventory on WhatsApp, and they can order using WhatsApp. So this is something which was excellent to see, seeing the fact that they realize that a mom and pop store owner or a small grocery store owner might not be able to set up an e-commerce store like a full-fledged, let's say, Shopify store ever. However, they are used to WhatsApp, so let's just bring an innovation which they are used to, and like bring it in an ecosystem, in an app that they are using day in and day out. So excellent transformation stories have come up, and we, the privileged ones who have embraced technology since last few years, I think it was easy for us. But those who hadn't, it was a little difficult, but now they've come around, and they've come around really well. So that's how it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this, as the user on internet, especially in India, has grown exponentially. So that's one of the aspect of the startup being in the pandemic. And now I would like to move forward to Mr. Carsten Lexa. As being in the pandemic, that the cash flow has stopped, and there's such a drown in and a very huge impact on economy. So could you please let me know that the COVID-19 impact on the economy and how startups are driving and raising it? Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. Well, what we
Pleasure.
see, especially here in Germany, when it comes to the economy in general, and when we look at COVID-19, the Corona pandemic, first I think we see two sides. The first is the impact that we have on established businesses. I'm from Germany, so Germany is very well known as a country that is, very focused, very business oriented, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, when this pandemic arrived at the beginning of this year, suddenly you saw a lot of problems that were already there in Germany, but also in other European countries, like in France, in Italy, and so on and so forth. But now they had an impact. For example, take administration, city government, city administration. People suddenly discovered that if they are no longer allowed to go inside, for example, the city hall, to let them know that they have moved to a different address, that normally they need a scheduled appointment. But if you cannot go into this building because of the Corona pandemic, then you have to do it online. And this sounds very simple. But suddenly, here in Germany, a lot of people discovered that a lot of administrative organizations, they were not equipped to handle these tasks. So this was one side. Then you had the business side. The business sides, very often the traditional established businesses, they suddenly had, I don't want to say a lot of major problems, but they had a lot of difficulties to adapt to the new reality. For example, take typical people who work especially with their hands, like plumbers, take all sorts of like mechanics and so on and so forth. Suddenly, they had problems meeting with their own employees. So, I mean, it's very normal to go online and do like a video conferences. But very often we saw that a lot of these people don't want to do that. And then you have on the other side, the startups, young people who use technology all the time. And they have a huge advantage. For example, when I speak to founders, and when I talk to my clients, and I say to them, okay, let's have a video call. You don't have to meet me in my office. Sometimes it's problematic. Sometimes they want to know, okay, what kind of service do you use? What kind of internet connection do I need? And so on and so forth. When I talk to startups, for them, everything is absolutely no problem. For them, it's the new normal has already arrived. And this is what I see where they drive not only the businesses, but they drive the innovation because they demand the services. They don't accept that it's not possible to do something. They know it can be done, and they don't see a lot of problems. They don't see a lot of challenges. For example, here in Germany, maybe you know, we have a lot of discussions about data security. These startups, these founders, they use United States based services. For them, it's absolutely no problem. Why should they care? It's established companies, established businesses that have a lot of problems. And what you can see is that the startups are going very, very fast. They drive the businesses, and you see there are a lot of very, very good examples where businesses really thrive, even when it comes to the pandemic. And I think this is a very, very good sign, although the business in general and the economic situation is affected by the pandemic.
Yes, for sure. So thank you for the wonderful answer on that particular topic and discussing about the impact of on the economy due to COVID. And now I'm moving forward to Ms. Sydney Wong, founder of VentureX from Canada, North America. As we all know that being in the pandemic, everyone goes digitally, and every work and is to be done in the digitally, and there is and people are working remotely from their home. And so could you please redefine the new working culture and the state of the startup and the venture capital? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so here in North America, one of the biggest co-working spaces that startups and investors and also a lot of corporations used to use was, of course, WeWork. I myself used to work out of WeWork as well, back in the day. And that was one of the companies that dropped from, during the pandemic, $49 billion in valuation to $2.9 billion. So it dropped more than $40 billion, which just shows that the market doesn't have a lot of optimism of us going back to that culture, and paying those extraordinary fees, being as a part of that. I need to see people and everything, because things are moving more digitally, both corporations as well as startups. I mean, startups had to go this route because of bootstrapping methods and all of these, budgeting restraints. But now it is for very different reasons: for safety, it's for comfort, it is for convenience, it is for the well-being of their employees, right? And corporations are following the same trend. So even, our family and friends that work for huge corporations of thousands of people are still only going back to the office a couple days a week these days, right? And so it is showing that we are no longer needing that kind of space anymore. And that really does impact the way that we see things. As an entrepreneur myself, I've always had a remote and digital team. My first hire was from Albania, and he only had internet 4 days a week, and we still hired him as a junior developer, because we were like, no, this we need to give opportunities to places that didn't have opportunities. And in my personal belief and professional belief, talent is borderless. And I think that more than ever, we are seeing that nowadays too, because everyone is going to be digital and remote, and making home offices and making a work balance lifestyle more and more prevalent for both startups as well as corporations, or any kind of industry that you work in. And to know that you really do have to put your employees first, you have to put their safety and their health first, their families first, and then make sure that you are cooperating with the new normal in all of these trends and all of these ways, right? And then in terms of the startup and venture capital side, I would say that things are moving a lot faster, and things are getting done a lot easier, because they're no longer going to fly to come and meet you and see you and then do that handshake deal or do the pass the napkin deal. That's no longer a thing. Also, that's very contagious. So that's no longer a thing. But they will now be doing things digitally and wiring, huge amounts of funding through, let's say, WeChat. Like you mentioned, and other payment sources that are digital, that are quick and easy, but also mergers and acquisitions from Google and a lot of other big players are happening much faster overnight now, because they didn't have to meet in person, and because all of these things can be done much faster and at a different valuation than they were before. Valuations are not being inflated the same way, and so therefore we are seeing different opportunities everywhere, right? So it's a very interesting time to be going into both entrepreneurship, to be going into venture capital, startup, and just kind of seeing how the new normal really does play out, because you have that kind of chance and opportunity that you didn't have before, when there were all these few huge players taking over the entire market, because now everyone is on a kind of an uncertain balance and a more of an even playing field in a way, because nobody really knows the answer. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in the next 12 months. And that makes everything all the more exciting.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Right now, as the startups are, and there are so many opportunities are available, especially in the pandemic. We are the young entrepreneurs have created to generate the currency and raising the economy, and especially the remote working culture helps a lot, especially me to run a startup and all. So now I'm moving forward to Mr. Sia Bonga Tiwana, co-founder of Skywork Innovation from South Africa. So in this pandemic, those startup who are the agricultural startup, the real estate startups who have been facing several problems, and maybe they have shut down their companies, and there are several things as well, and there are several sectors as well. So I would like to know, Mr. Sia, about the growth and the survival beyond COVID-19 of these startups. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Shubham, for inviting me first. I'm really excited to be here. So this is actually the greatest time to innovate. It's the greatest time to connect and collaborate, right? So looking at some of the examples of some of the companies that I've seen in South Africa or in the African continent itself, is that we've seen companies that like Uber as an example, right? We've seen the Uber drivers, they now are delivering food parcels to the houses, right? So my point there is that you always have to find alternative ways of looking at an opportunity that is at hand and then seize that opportunity and maximize on it, right? So there's also another book that is titled Built to Last, right? If you look at big companies, your IBM, your Amazon, and so on and so forth, those companies, they've been existent for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? So they've got the core of what they actually do, and then they've got other services just right around on the kind of services that they offer, right? So I think that smaller businesses or any kind of a business should just look at what are the other services, looking at the pandemic and looking at the challenges that we're actually facing, that they can potentially maximize on. So then the third point that I want to raise is that businesses, they should do research and just find out what are the needs and the challenges that customers actually have, right? So unless I find out that in India or in Germany or North America, they've got specific challenge that I can potentially look at addressing, right? I will never know. Then if there's something that I can provide as a service or as a product that I can render to that particular market, then it opens up an opportunity to grow my business as well as surviving beyond the COVID-19. So the other thing that I will also mention is that looking at collaborations as well as reusing of technology, right? In collaborations, I can potentially collaborate with Sydney and say, hey, look, you potentially have products or services that you actually offer from that side that has a heavy need in the African continent, because maybe we've got challenges with regulations, we've got challenges with other things that if I can take Sydney's solution, it will be much more easier for me to get to market much more quicker, right? So reusing of technology, collaborations, I think is the best time to now connect. I don't have to be in North America at the moment. I don't have to be in Germany. I can just connect and collaborate with other people and look at how can I take my business to the next level or to the other markets. And in Africa is the best time to actually invest in. At the moment, if you're looking for collaborations or anything, this is the best time that you can render your services this side, you can render your products this side. We are always open up for collaborations.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the particular example of how remote working culture has boomed the startups and all the sector and all the business. So now we are moving forward to the Q&A session. So here's the first, the common question which I ask all of you, is please give one key recommendation on how to start a startup in COVID-19. Yeah, I'm starting with Mr. Alexa. Yeah.
Well, my answer is very easy. Don't think too much and just begin. What we see, and especially here in Germany, but I see it in a lot of other countries, the problem is that a lot of people think about what can go wrong. And of course, this is an absolute valid question. You should always think about what can go wrong, because then you can prepare for what can go wrong. But what I very often see is that people they don't stop thinking about the problems. So they go on and go on and go on, and then the business plan, it's 90% ready, but it must be 110%, and it's 95% ready, but that's not enough, and it goes on and on and on, and the product is not good, and the team is not good, and everything is not good, and they forget to start. And my advice always is start. I think the key thing that founders are able to do is they figure out solutions to problems. And let's be honest, there are problems everywhere. But if you only think about the problems, you will never find solutions. Just start. And of course, don't be naive. Sometimes I hear people, they come to me and they say, oh, Carsten, this is a very, very naive advice because just start. I mean, there are so many problems. Don't you prepare? Yes, of course. But never forget, there are problems that you cannot handle when you just think about them theoretically. Just start and concentrate on your own abilities. You are able to find solutions. Very often founders have a network. They know where to go. They have mentors. They have people like, for example, Sydney Wong or whoever, and they can go to, and they can say, well, I need advice. I need someone who helps me, and they can find people. And this is the reason why I say, don't forget, there will be problems. But don't forget also to start, begin. If you have an idea, start your business, go into the market, let's find out what people think about your product, about your service, about your whole idea. But don't forget to start your business.
Absolutely. That's the one piece of advice which I really work on. And there are so many young entrepreneurs as well waiting who need to just start because everything is available right now. And it is a lot easier in the pandemic. Thank you so much, Mr. Carsten. And I'm moving forward to Ms. Sydney Wong. Yeah, Ms. Sydney.
So I would love to put a time constraint on all these different kinds of goals. So the reason would be if you thought to yourself, how can I start a business in 1 week or 1 weekend? You would actually do something. You would actually have accomplished things much faster and in a much more concrete way. So there are actually videos like that on YouTube and other social medias where you can find, how can I solve this problem in the quickest way possible? What are the resources I need? Who are my customers? You'd be able to test these out in a much faster way. So if you wanted to solve any problem, try and start it as quickly as possible, but give yourself a very definite time constraint with, defined resources, defined deadlines, and hold yourself accountable. Make sure somebody actually knows what you're doing and get them to call you back and test you if you've done it, right? So I would definitely put a goal and make a SMART goal with time constraints on it. And if you can't solve that problem, that business problem in any way, you haven't really moved, then move on to a different problem.
Okay, so thank you so much for your kind advice, and it is really helpful. Now I'm moving forward to Mr. Shikil Sharma. Shikil, what's your advice?
Yeah, sure. So I think since Carsten was mentioning about German model of doing things, right? I instantly remembered how it was always said that, be it Southeast Asian countries or your South Koreas of the world and even Germany, like basically all the big manufacturing units of the world from where big car companies and automobile companies come, right? So they always were known for a massive long planning. At least like if a new business or a new venture has to be started, it was always at least a decade-long planning, could last 50 years, even 80 years long planning. So that's the kind of planning that was required. And one of the key reason and rationale behind that planning used to be the fact that, it's a very volatile world. There's very limited funding available. So they have to plan their resources well. They have to plan their unit economics really, really well. However, with the emergence of tech, it's a very fast-paced world. You like fail fast, right? As they say. So you can start really fast, you can fail really fast, and you can scale really fast. So in this world where you're actually taking no risk at all, if you see in the larger scheme of things, and still you're not starting, then most likely it's the problem is the man in the mirror, not really anyone else. So that I think should be the key thing that you need to think about. That it's a zero risk game if you're starting up. Just give yourself a couple of years, and more so if you're in some place in Europe or even North America, where if you worked a couple of years, then government might end up supporting you a couple of years when you're starting up, like those critical years where before you make your first dollar, you might be supported by the social security. So that makes it even better for you. So in such situation, I think if someone's not starting up and and they want to start up and they're not starting up, then it's most likely there's some internal fear, because there are no practical external fears that should be they should be worrying about.
Yes, absolutely. And this is one of the major problem which people like me who are facing, who want to start their own startup right now. And now I'm moving forward to Mr. Sia Vangatiwana. So what your advice, especially in the continent where I think there are several challenges the young entrepreneur are facing. So what your key recommendation for that, Mr. Sia?
Shubham, you know how entrepreneurs, they are always stuck or tightly coupled to their ideas. You can't tell them otherwise. They're always tightly coupled to their ideas and they don't want to try something else. So I would say that look at the problems that exist either in your area or in other particular market that you can potentially provide solutions for. Do a competitor analysis, right? So if you're going to start something in the banking or finance or in fintech, in other countries where there are 47 other competitors, they've got all the resources and stuff, it's going to be difficult for you to actually crack it in the market and find a product market fit, right? So, and then I would say, thirdly, look at the resources that you have. If, as an example, you want to start a health tech solution, right? And then you know that there are regulations in your respective country that it will take you at least maybe 9 months or whatever the case might be, just to go through all the regulations and get the certifications that you need before you can start. Determine that, do you actually have the resources and the time to go through the entire process until you can build something, whether it's going to work or whether it's not going to work, that's another thing. So the last thing I would say, I would resonate with Sydney, I would say, put a time constraint into starting a business. Try something, dedicate all the resources. If things doesn't work within the time frame that you've actually worked out, is either try a different market or just try finding other problems that you can solve.
Yeah, for sure, completely. That's a very insightful recommendation. So thank you so much, Mr. Sia. And I would like to ask a question to Mr. Shikil Sharma. That everybody knows that tech industry is booming during the pandemic. So there are some. What are the key challenges and how COVID has impacted the tech industry? Yeah.
I think tech industry is that what oil was in the last century, right? So whatever happened in tech industry, it's very temporary. I mean, even if it's a setback, it is very temporary setback. Tech industry finds ways to get back, and like whenever it gets back, it gets back 10x more, 100x more. So I'm very positive about tech industry always, and impact on tech industry, I think it's only good. I mean, we've seen as a founder of a cybersecurity startup, I've seen like people who were running their businesses, startups, small businesses, they were not focusing a lot on cybersecurity, but thanks to remote work, now they are having to follow certain security protocols, use a VPN, ensure that, where their like Carsten mentioned, GDPR data has become a problem because earlier they were situated within an office where they had certain access, like a network level security could be maintained. But now each employee is in that home. So the customer data of that company is also going to that home of each employee, which is a little tricky situation. So in such situations, companies are having to think of cybersecurity. But then I think that's just like spending on cybersecurity is just a cost that you can easily afford, because now you're not paying the massive rent for a WeWork or any other or just the office rent that you were paying. So you can repurpose that into ensuring that your employees are taking best security practices. So in terms of by and large impact on tech industry and how tech industry is responding, I think they are responding very quick. Like a couple of examples I gave earlier, they are coming back even better. So I'm all positive on tech industry. And I think with this, new business models have come up. I mean,
Yes.
In Asia, I've seen funding which has been coming on to edtech startups. It's a record funding that edtech startups are receiving, and the reason is because the entire education is going online, and in the coming
Yes.
years we are talking about replacing traditional schools, right? So startups who've actually gone ahead and done innovation and ensured that they are ready for post-pandemic world, they are reaping the benefits, and the ones who were not that ready, they've gotten enough time. It's been a good 9-10 months, 8-10 months that pandemic hit us, so they've made the transformation. I think in startup world, pandemic is a very old topic now.
Yes, completely. And as we all know that most that in India especially, edtech startups are really booming faster. And for example, Byju's with Antu, and there are several platforms as well. So thank you so much, Shikil. And now moving forward to Miss Sydney, that how can we ensure the health of a startup as we are working on a remote working culture and adapting the same. So. How can we ensure the health of startup? Yeah, completely.
Yeah, so there's definitely more startups that are coming onto the scene because every time there's an economic uncertainty of any kind, entrepreneurship goes through the roof. So having said that, of course, there are these great startups that are supporting all the brick and mortar and the local, traditional kinds of businesses. Like Shopify is doing extraordinarily well. Like 15x their stock price is incredible, based on just the fact that they are there to help other grocery stores and local businesses that never had a website before be able to do online ordering and be able to do e-commerce and be able to do all of these things that they never had to do before. But because we are all doing remote working and we are all trying to social distance, that has become more important than ever to be able to support these kinds of platforms and go onto their website to support our local businesses everywhere in the world, trying to contribute what we can to the economy. And tech startups in general are leading the way in this, both on the IPO stage, the public market, as well as the private market before they've even gotten started yet. So there are different startups that are, for example, one of my friends was in a competition to work with CAE. Well, actually, they were competing against CAE, which is an aerospace company, to help make ventilators. And this was to go to different schools and epidemiology schools, but as well as practices for nursing and all these healthcare professionals that use them, right? And these are the kinds of challenges that they go, hey, we have the resources, we have the talent to be able to do this. Why don't we also step up onto the scene? We are just the same as all these huge engineering companies that are able to do the same thing. We can also contribute. And I think that is the magic of where tech startups can come in and really play big roles and make a huge impact on the economy going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer, and that was really insightful. So I'm moving forward to Mr. Carson Lexa. What challenges startups are facing when it comes to funding, as in this pandemic where the world's economy has drowned completely? Yeah.
Well, when it comes to challenges, I think there are a few that they face, but I also think there are a lot of solutions. The first thing, what we experience, of course, is the financing. What we see here in Germany is that it's becoming a little bit more difficult to get financing for the startups, and there are different reasons for that. First of all, the activities of venture capitalists have slowed a little bit. Well, it always depends on the city. So, for example, when you go to Berlin, you see that there are still a lot of things going on. But for example, when it comes to meetings, this is, of course, a huge problem. There are no longer any big conferences where you can go, so you have to have smaller meetings. And to do that, you have to find, or you need to have better connections to, for example, venture capitalists or to the companies. So this is, of course, one of the problems that we face at the moment. On the other hand, what we also face, and this might be something that is special for Germany, but it is a real problem, and this is the internet connection. I know this sounds really funny, but here you have a lot of areas in Germany where the internet connection is not as fast as you might expect it. So, for example, if you are a startup that needs a very, very reliable and very fast internet connection, then there are a few areas in Germany where you should not set up your business, because there the internet connection will not be very good. So it always sounds very funny when you think about that we are talking Germany here, but it's a real issue, and the pandemic has made this issue visible. Before that, I mean, it was a discussion point, it was a discussion topic, but basically it was nothing that would have been addressed. But now suddenly it becomes a lifeline. You need this internet connection, and if you don't have that, then you have problems. Then you cannot do your video conferences and so on and so forth. And then, of course, you have another challenge, and this is the last one that I would like to mention, and this is the team challenge. What do I mean with that? I mean, we all know that when it comes to the team, this is one of the biggest issues. I don't want to say challenges or problems, because very often it's not a problem. Very often this issue is handled very well. But sometimes the team is an issue. So, I mean, before Corona, you were able to meet and you were talk to people face to face. Now, suddenly, this has to change. You have to talk to them via video conference. You have to talk to them via a remote connection. And this makes it even more difficult, especially when you face tough decisions. For example, you have to let someone go. I mean, face to face is a big issue, but now you have to do it over a video conference, for example, and then of course it becomes even more problematic. So this is also another issue, and of course this is just a small glimpse into this issue. I mean, think about, you know, meetings. You need a new software, then the software is not working. You are stressed out. You are fed up because you want to do something. Normally, for example, you just write something on a flip chart. Now you have to do it online, but the software that you were used to use is not enabling this. So you need another software, and you are looking for another software, and it takes time, and so on and so forth. So these, I think, are a few of these issues that are new with the pandemic. On the other hand, never forget, these issues can be solved. So it sometimes takes a little bit of time, but it can be solved. But you need to know about these issues.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that answer, and that quite seem awkward or something, that especially in the country like Germany, which is one of the greatest country in the world. So thank you so much for your insight. And now I'm moving forward to Mr. Sia Bonga. Being in the pandemic, there's a new normal, and we have the new world where people can't meet, and we have to do social distancing and everything. So I would like to ask him how startups are going to reinvent themselves during and post COVID. Yeah, Mr. Sia.
Yes. So look, reinventing yourself. I think things are starting to relax a little bit compared to when the pandemic actually started, right? So everyone was quite hesitant to meet. Everyone was a little bit hesitant to spend money, right? So now people are realizing that, hey, look, this is our new normal. And then you actually have to reach out to people as much as you can potentially can. Even if you have that 15-minute session with the person, by all means, set as much meetings as possible. So I think almost everyone all over the world is actually open up to say, hey, look, we are open to do business with you as long as you can promise that you're going to deliver quality. The time zone works out for everyone. The exchange rate works out both for everyone. I think looking at that, it just doesn't matter where you are. You can just have to approach as much people as possible in different continents, and by all means, someone is gonna open up the doors for you, and you can potentially grow your business in that regard.
Yes, completely. So thank you, Mr. Sia Bonga. And now I'm moving forward to Mr. Carson Lexa. Sir, I heard in one of your interview that you were talking about the mobility for the young entrepreneurs, where people are not focusing on their doing their business and startup in their own country. Well, whether they are focusing on doing the business all around the world, and by which they are not getting successful. So, could you please elaborate on the mobility, and what do you think that what opportunities are present for the young entrepreneurs in the pandemic? Yeah.
Well, I think first of all, what is really fascinating is that a lot of founders they are no longer bound by the borders of a country. I'm from Germany. Of course, Germany is a big country, but Germany is in the middle of Europe. So, and basically we have 80 million people. So this is not a densely populated country. I mean, 80 million is not a low number, but when you compare it to India, when you compare it to China, when you compare it to the Philippines, we are a small country. So the interesting thing is that more and more startups are looking across the borders, and especially here in Europe, they have a huge advantage. We have a borderless continent, if you want to say so. And when you think about if you want to set up a business in Germany, and you only think about language, you not only have Germany, you have Austria, you have Switzerland, you have parts of Belgium. If you think in when it comes to English language, you can go to almost every country, which is absolutely fascinating. And when you compare that to 50 years ago, people at that time, when they set up their business, they were thinking, about their hometown, maybe about the region, maybe they were thinking about the whole country, like Germany. But now founders, they start thinking about, well, if we set up a website, this website can be accessed from anywhere. So why should we concentrate only on Germany? We can concentrate, on every country. We can go to Africa, we can go to South Africa, we can go to, Canada, wherever we want to go. And the interesting thing is that COVID has, I don't want to say enabled, but what COVID did, COVID has sped up the development of this process, because suddenly people were using technology, and they were using technology that was there already like 5 years ago, but now everybody is using it. Think about logistics. If you want to send a product from Germany to anywhere in the world, a lot of people know this can be done, but suddenly they see it as a business opportunity, and they realize, oh my God, this is really going to happen. If I want to have a product next day, for example, in, Portugal, I can do that. And by the way, I did this myself. So this is really possible. And before that, it was an option. Now it's something that is normal. And this is, I think, Shikil said it before, this is a new normal for us. It's something, well, it was something that was interesting. It was an option. But now it's something that you don't even talk about it. You just say, okay, let's do it. Why should we even think about it? And I think this is a great thing that has happened at the moment, and especially the younger people. They are used to, don't think in their borders, in the borders of their country. They think on a bigger scale, and I think that is absolutely magnificent. And this is something that is a lot of good things will come from this borderless thinking.
Yeah, for sure. So and we are thinking, especially the thing you said is quite adaptable, and that was a really good advice for the young entrepreneurs who want to start their own startup. So thank you so much for your kind answer. And now I'm moving forward to Mr. Shikil Sharma. Shikil, as we all know that tech industry is booming nowadays, being in the pandemic especially. So there are several countries all around the world where people have internet issues, and they are lacking some of the resources, and they still want to start their own company and do the startup in the tech industry. So what do you think that pandemic has provided us that opportunity? Yeah.
Sure. I think as Carsten mentioned, I think that definitely is a challenge, and because that's a very infrastructure level change. I mean, that's something that you require governments to participate in that and make sure that those Wi-Fi connections and high-speed internet's available. But I think government also acknowledges that, and they acknowledge that firsthand. Earlier, it was a little distant problem for them, right? Because there were people complaining that we need a better internet. But now, government themselves, when they can't, like Carsten mentioned, that they can't themselves have so many people in their government offices for approvals, or if they want to change some address, change electricity bills, all sorts of stuff. They themselves can't have so many people walk into the office of the town and get that done. So they are themselves finding ways to get that done online. And if a person who's not having internet connection at home can't do that, they know that they're changing that into a web-based solution isn't helpful. So I think it's in the government's interest, and the positive out of it is the fact that since now it's become government's personal interest to ensure that people who do not have high-speed internet access, government would ensure that that happens really fast. I remember, and this is always, you always have to see example of tech companies how they usually did when they had the similar problem. I remember back in the day around 10, 12 years ago when actually Facebook came to India and they were trying to penetrate the market like beyond the urban metro cities. And what they had, they started that, and the word of Facebook had gone out. Like everyone, even in the small cities where there was no internet, knew what Facebook is. So Facebook put out in those, like back in the day, the smartphones weren't also accessible.
Yeah, we have the keypad phones. Yeah.
That you call on this number, which is like a toll-free number. Call on this number, and using like pressing number 1, pressing number 2, how we usually call customer support. That's how you could operate Facebook, create an account, and check your notifications. So that's the kind of penetration that even government needs to start with. And of course, someone who's actually interested in doing a tech startup, I think, and they of course requires at least the minimum resource of high-speed internet. I think they'll find a way by moving cities a bit. I think for now that's how it'll have to happen to start with.
Yeah, and as in the pandemic, there are several countries and several parts of our India also where people are coming up with the new ideas and new startups on their regional state and the cities. So yeah, that is this is the time where they can start their own startup, especially in the tech industry.
Absolutely, I think one of the huge change, and which was much needed on a global scale, would be the fact that there's this book called *Sapiens*, where the author says that we've been biggest slaves of wheat, because we started settling at one place. We were foragers who were always moving from one place to another, but we started cultivating wheat, and wherever we started cultivating wheat, as communities, we started settling at that place, and we never moved from there. And that's how concept of city started almost at like about with the start of agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago. So I think that was at its peak before the pandemic, where urban cities were going crazy, and especially in developing countries like India, where too much pollution, and cities like were expanding at such a huge pace, which meant pollution levels are high, lack of resources, high increase in crime, loss of jobs, too many people at one place. Now those intelligent people, thanks to internet, can move back to those tier 2, tier 3 cities where they came from, and they can start working from there. And now, since they're going back to their hometowns, they're going back with the knowledge they acquired staying in city. This means that they're going to be starting small tech-enabled businesses in their small cities. And these are the people who are going to inspire 5 different people around them. So this is going to be a very beautiful change that this pandemic is going to bring, by making sure that concentration of population is not at one place but scattered eventually, and that would ensure that even tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities get a lot of development.
Yes, completely. And then they are growing in their particular cities, and the knowledge they acquire from the metropolitan cities. So yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful answer. And now I'm moving forward to Ms. Sydney Wong. That being in the pandemic, do you think that we have global opportunity for startups that can create products to address the global needs?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm very bullish when it comes to new tech startups, no matter where they are. So I was just talking to this great entrepreneur out in Italy. She was in a very small village. I don't remember what it's called, and she was explaining that she wanted to create something that was a voice-activated diagnosis. So then you can get medically diagnosed through voice, through telephone, and through contactless services. And I think that was a fantastic idea. These are the kinds of things that I think are being inspired by wherever you are. You don't have to be in a very large city to start working on this, but you can, of course, plan your way through your journey and see how things are going and kind of get your tests everywhere and be referred to these different specialists that she's been in contact with all throughout Europe so far, to be able to make this happen and to be able to get as many tests or lab results or experts helping her with these kinds of initiatives. And I think that is a wonderful thing. So I think that where you are will always hold a special place in your heart, and it will always be the kind of thing that inspires you to move forward, because these are the kinds of reasons that really propel us to solve the problems we really want to solve, right? It's whatever's happening in front of us. But we can always work locally and think globally, no matter where we are.
That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. So yeah. So here I'm moving forward to Mr. Sia Bongadiwana. That in this when pandemic happened and lockdown has happened in every country. So there is a stop in the cash flow. So what do you think that how to manage your cash flow during this time is crucial to your survival as a small business? Yeah.
Look, there are so much gaps in a whole lot of, I'm listening to everyone sitting in different continents. I already saw that we have similar challenges, right? I've got issues with the best internet connection. We've got challenges with funding. We've got similar challenges across different continents, right? So I think addressing the gaps is to look at, okay, if I am speaking to people in different continents that have solved a particular problem, so how can I engage with them to potentially collaborate or look at importing or white labeling that particular product that I can reuse in the challenges that I foresee in my country or in my continent? So I think those are one of the things that can be looked at in terms of addressing the gaps. Looking at now, some of the gaps that I've already identified in the continent and in South Africa as well, we have got challenges with the skill set when it comes to cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is a big thing. And Mr. Sharma already spoke about, there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and it can potentially provide some of the skill sets that, he potentially has, and it can provide some of the solutions that the products that we build for companies, cybersecurity can be addressed, right? So it is just around the collaboration. It is just around looking at who else anywhere in the market has built something that can potentially address the challenge that you're facing. So I think that's how you can potentially address the challenges or the gaps that we have.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that was a really insightful answer. And I'm going to ask the last question of this panel discussion to Mr. Carsten Lexa. So what is going to be the future of startups?
Well, obviously the future is bright. I hope you have not expected a different answer. No, being serious, I really think the future is bright. Why? First of all, you agree. Excellent. I hope everybody's agree. Now, but there are a few reasons. I'm from Germany, so of course I have a few reasons for that. I think the first reason is young people, in my opinion, are the future when it comes to innovation, and we will see a lot of innovation, especially because of what I said before. Young people don't see challenges, they see solutions. I see it everywhere. I see it in every country. If there are challenges, they find solutions. And this is something that I'm very, very optimistic about. And this next thing is we need a new thinking about startups. And why is this? Listening to all of these great panelists, I see that the problems are always the same. We talk about funding, we talk about access to something, whatever this is. We think about, we talk about problems with borders. And I think the time is right to think new about startups. Startups need different things than traditional businesses. And as long as we try to judge, as long as we try to handle businesses, startup businesses, in the same way as we do with traditional businesses, they, in my opinion, cannot become the innovators that they can be. So I really hope, and this being said by a German lawyer, I really hope that we can look at other countries, that we can see what they do better than we do in our country. And for example, I see a lot of good things in a lot of different countries other than Germany, and then apply these things to our businesses, especially to our startup businesses. And if we can do that, of course, this requires new minds. But if we can do that, then I think a lot of big innovations can come out of every country in the world.
Yes, completely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much thank you so much, everyone, for joining me and sharing the incredible knowledge you have. And I hope that audience love all these speakers and the knowledge you give, and that this session is very informative. So thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for